And I don't knock anybody for having like the opposite side be the main side that they criticize or stuff like that. But I know how they operate. I know how the left operates. And this is why I'm always emphasizing the artistic stuff and the culture, because I realize that is exactly how the left got me. That's how I grew up being a leftist. That's how I got sucked into that nonsense. It's because, it was all I knew and it was embedded essentially in my culture. So you grow up that way. You're an anomaly when you deviate from that particular line of thinking. So I know that, you know what I mean? And that has allowed me, just having that sort of information and coming from there has allowed me to know what works. Like people, it's funny, and it tends to be people that came from different sides that are always like, well, you're too hard on the left. And I'm like, bro, if you only knew what I knew.
Transmitting directly from the launch pad. Bringing blue collar to your cell tower. The rock and roll libertarian himself. It's time to blast off with Johnny Rocket.
I know you gotta dig an old record machine, and you gotta dig that rockabilly scene. I know you gotta dig that hip-hop high, and you gotta dig an old Sub 45.
Hey, it's Johnny Rocket here at Blast Off, and I'm here with my beautiful Ray of Truth, the beautiful. I said you were beautiful already, but whatever. It's a double beautiful day with the beautiful and gorgeous Raylene Lightheart.
Thank you. I am feeling myself. Double beautiful. Thank you.
Double beautiful. That was an accident. I was like, the beautiful Raylene. It's like beautiful.
I'm like, keep complimenting me. I love it.
It's like beautiful squared, right? Or cubed, actually. If I said it 3 times, it'd be cubed, right?
That's what they told me in math.
There you go. How you doing, Raylene? What's shaking?
I'm doing well. I kind of went into a tailspin today on the internet because I found myself in a rabbit hole researching toxic masculinity, which was cancer. And then I moved further into toxic femininity, and then it became political and racist. And I don't know if you realize this, but toxic femininity is enabling the alt-right. That's real. That's what I read today.
I wouldn't doubt it. I don't
think it's real. I mean, that's what I really read. And
I know.
And also, I want to tell you this. This is really exciting news.
Yeah.
Somebody messaged me today locally on Facebook and said, I heard you guys on the Jason Stapleton program. And he heard that I worked at Kitsap County Libertarian Party. And he's from Kitsap County and is getting involved. So it's kind of exciting hearing that you're, bringing people in to do something.
You're making a difference, Raylene. You know what I'm saying? You're making a difference.
Well, I mean, it's my dream. So
there you go.
Exciting.
See, now you have now there's like a point of contact and they know you because they recognize your voice on the Jason Stapleton show program. It's the Jason Stapleton program.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if Jason actually put a lot of thought into that name. It'd be like John Adams show.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, though, I got an email too. Somebody said, I can't understand the fucking show because every time you guys talk, every other word is bleeped out. So it's just a nothing but bleeps because you are trying to do the right thing. And apparently, and I whatever, I have a dirty mouth, but they don't know that you have the dirty mind.
Yeah, they have no idea.
They have no idea. Like if you sound...
I am a product of toxic femininity.
That's right.
That's the problem.
That's right.
Yeah.
So like we show up and so like everyone thinks I'm the badass, but really you are sick in the head one. See, that you say shit that makes
Johnny blush daily, you guys. I make him blush.
Yeah,
yes.
She does. It's crazy. Okay, Raylene, are you ready for our guest?
Oh my gosh, cannot wait.
Okay, this guy has been on the show before. He was actually on the show when I did the Johnny Rocket Launchpad. Are you ready for this guest? Because I've been waiting to have him back on. Eric July is a libertarian and anarcho-capitalist, formerly a Democrat. He previously voted for Barack Obama way back in the day in 2008. Shortly after becoming a libertarian during the 2012 election, he unfortunately announced his support for Gary Johnson, but I think he regrets that now. The libertarian nominee, he voiced opposition on raising the minimum wage. He defends defunding Planned Parenthood, of course. He's doing awesome. His band Backwards and his first record, full-length record, Veracity, which sold 3,000 copies, Raylene, in the first week.
I know.
Right? Mm-hmm. Billboard, alternative new artist, #1 on the charts. Heat Seeker #2. I mean, he is just kicking ass and taking names in the libertarian movement. He is a awesome writer, great musician, great rapper, and one of the most principled guys in the liberty movement. Okay, Raylene, prepare for liftoff.
Copy that, Johnny.
Covers tie-downs and grounding cables.
Removed as required.
Communications connected.
Check.
Preamps in the green.
Check.
Cold beer.
Double check.
Thrusters are hot. Raylene, are you ready to rock?
All systems go, Johnny.
Let's blast off with Eric July.
Man, that intro was, y'all make me sound way more important than what I am. Way more important than what I am. But man, I'm glad to be back. I'm sure we're going to be chatting about a lot. Thoroughly enjoyed you guys having me on last time. I mean, you guys showed a lot of support.
Yeah, man.
For the record, man, and I highly appreciated that. A lot of people within the libertarian movement really made that, they kind of rallied behind us and helped us with sort of getting it out there and letting people know that we existed. And I thoroughly appreciated that.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And you do such a good job. You're a great communicator, and you really bring these ideas of libertarianism. You make it cool. And as we've been doing, seriously, man, I mean, nobody wants to hear like, and today we're going to talk about economics. And, that's cool shit. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a place for that. But to get to the people who actually matter, like the people who are listening to, people listen to music, man. People that watch movies. People like to be entertained. And you're combining both those things, which I think is very effective in how you're doing it. And I think that's
absolutely,
you know what I'm saying? Like no one's doing it. There's not enough guys.
Culture.
Yeah, exactly. Not enough people are doing what you're doing, Eric.
I appreciate it.
Is there a lot of people who are like trying to do what you're doing? Have they tried to contact you and said, hey man, how do I do this shit?
I mean, yeah, I think we kind of let people know that it can be done. I think a lot of people, most definitely before us, from just the arts and the entertainment level and trying to be a principled libertarian and utilize their art to sort of as their sort of vehicle to spread this message. I think a lot of people had this idea before we did, but I think a lot of people shied away from it as well, simply because they felt like they could not see any sort of success because, maybe you pigeonhole yourself when you kind of take that sort of stance, definitely in art, which is heavily dominated by leftism. So it's difficult, and I get it. And I think we show people that there is a market for it. There is, and if you just do it and you get the product, because the thing about what we made sure we focused on backwards, was that we had a good product at the end of the day. So it didn't matter whether you knew our stances or anything like that. It was still going to be able to be easily digestible for you, because we all came from this realm. It wasn't like we just sort of, came together and backwards was our first project. No. We all came from being sort of semi-successful, signed in previous metalcore and post-hardcore bands. So we had all been there and done that. And we just, happened to come together. We had a vision. We knew what we wanted to do, and we just, we made it happen. So I'm glad that we were able to see some success, because we just wanted people to realize that it can be done. And there has been people that reached out to me saying like, hey, asking for advice. And I think the first step is always doing it, man. Now we showed you that it can be done. A lot of people believe that, you can't do it. There's no way that you can do that. You're not going to see any sort of success or anything like that. And we just show people you can just do it because there is a market for it. So most definitely, it was all about just putting together a good project first with the music, and then sort of having the message follow.
I was just talking to Johnny about this, and he actually quoted you on an interview, or a quote about you. And he said he has this, the Launchpad media group that he just started, and it's going really well. And he's just like, I need the next Eric July on this media group. I mean, we love the way you're doing things, your short videos and your music and just the attitude about changing the culture. That's exactly what we want to do, and inspire the spirit of independence on all fronts. Right now, the music is your thing, and so is teaching people about economics and the spirit of self-ownership. But what are your pie-in-the-sky goals for someday? What do you want to do with activism? What are your dreams?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I've been working very hard over the years to sort of I'm always hungry, right? I'm always looking. I'm a student first and foremost. I say this in a lot of my speeches, and how I'm a student, you know what I mean? And what I mean by that is that I'm always studying. I'm studying analytics and stuff like that, trying to figure out how I can take things to the next level and do better. Like if you watch my videos from even a year ago, I mean, it progressed. The progress is just incredible in terms of quality of the video and stuff like that. So ideally speaking, what I would like to do is at some point in time, because I'm also the head of multimedia for Being Libertarian, and beinglibertarian.com, we're doing a lot over there. People know us for being this sort of, Facebook page, and know us for doing a whole lot of different things. And my aspirations are taking that multimedia side to the next level, because you mentioned like what I do with my short videos and stuff like that. I would love to have a team of people that do that I can help get out there, because you look at the CRTVs of the world, the Blaze, there's so many different little, for example, conservative avenues that are out there that have, there's so much quality content being put out there. And I would like to be a part of something like that, but more so taking that to the next level, but having a libertarian message behind it, where we can have multiple different figures that are hitting people. That's what I respect out of, CRTV. You can say whatever you want to about the people with their views, but they're hitting you from all angles, bro.
That's right.
They got, they got so many people that are down with them from, homie, whether it's on Doug Dynasty, to Steven Crowder, to, the guy that does the White House brief thing. Like Gavin. They have Gavin, like they have so many, I believe Matt Kibb with them or something like that.
Matt Kibbe out there, yeah.
Like they have so many figureheads that are hitting you from, and all of them, the people that we just named, all have like different styles. They have different things that they offer,
right?
In terms of how they do it. And I would love to have something like that, or be a part of something like that. Not exactly like that necessarily, but just the idea of having different figureheads, but that are libertarian and are being able to put out quality material. I would love to be a part of that. And that's sort of what we're building with the multimedia side. I think I got everything under wraps in terms of what I do with the content. Now I'm trying to build other people up and help them as well, try to, build a name for themselves, but put out quality content that people can, see online and be like, oh, I want to click this video, I want to watch it. And they get some sort of principle message. I think we need some more, just figureheads that are witty, are, quick on their toes, and are able to, go to different avenues and different mediums, go to other people's medium. That's why I also pride myself in trying to have that sort of availability to be able to go to other people's mediums. And I don't mind doing that, just to, go talk about what it is that I do, what my aspirations are, most importantly, what my positions, are on, whatever topic is at hand. Yeah. Yeah. So it's important. It's important. I would love to be a part of something like that, and really helping other, libertarians to gain that sort of success, popularity, because it's about the message, first and foremost, and we got to get that out there.
I'm with you, man. And here's the thing that you brought up, and I think you hit the nail on the head. You were basically saying that we need to create content that's actually looks nice. Mm-hmm. It's visually appealing. And I think like a lot of people, they think, oh, we're going to do a podcast. And I mean, you have a nice setup, but I mean, I'm just saying most people want to do Google Hangouts and put together, and try to get this video show or a podcast out there. And I don't know if that's necessarily the thing to do. I mean, like, look at Jason Stapleton's show. I mean, his studio looks like Glenn Beck. Mm-hmm. I mean, it looks that good.
Yeah.
And I think if we need to sell that image, if we want to, we got to be more visually appealing aesthetically,
100%.
And I think there's a lot of disconnect between libertarians and art. And I've noticed this because I don't know any, there's very few and far between libertarian artists of any sort.
Yeah.
You got economists, and you got history guys, you got guys in the law, and you got activists and all this stuff going on. But to really find a guy who's like, yo, dude, I got a vision, bro. It's rare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. You're 100% right, man. I mean, that is such a good point. I mean, that's what I pride myself in. I think that's why I kind of took off as fast as I did. In our community, was that I was putting out material and I made it appealing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I think that's what we need, right? That's exactly what we need. And that exact point that you brought up, I've said this time and time again. Like we got people with the ideas behind them. We got all these people that, we got the economists, we got the historians, we got all of these people that, have podcasts, but we don't have enough people that are going to get out there. Because like myself, granted, I went to college and did all that, but I don't present myself as this like academic, you know what I mean?
Right.
And not only just that, I make sure that, you know, I appeal to certain, you know, different avenues, different cultures and stuff like that otherwise I've not even heard, you know, sort of the libertarian message. And if they have heard it, it's some straw man version of it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And this is, you know, the funny thing about what it is that I do, because I do have that small sector of, I don't want to get it twisted. Most people that have been part of the libertarian community have backed me, supported me and stuff like that. There's that small sector of people, and it just seems to be the same sector of individuals that dislike me, but they have, you know, it's the same kind of cornball dudes that have no way. They're appealing to the same circle of individuals, right? That are usually they're already libertarians, or if that's questionable that they're already. But it's a bunch of people that already agree with them. They're not appealing to anybody outside of really their circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so ironic because those guys tend to hate what it is that I do. I think it's more of a matter of just being sour at the fact that I was able to appeal to individuals that, you know, because I'm in a circle of like with me doing music, specifically the metalcore and the hardcore stuff. In that genre, I was dominated by leftists, and that was my first audience. You know what I mean? That was my first big audience, and you know, so many people would come up to me and say, "Hey, I'd never heard about this subject matter," or which we got at shows, and Alex, you know, the other vocalist of Backwards will attest to this as well, where people coming to do our shows wanting to even learn. You know, we do these shows. I mean, sell out shows too at, you know, on these tours that we be on. And we get these individuals that would come up to us, and it seemed like every other band that was on the ticket, you know, they had the people come, "Hey, good job, love you, want to take pictures." And we get that as well. But we got a lot of people saying, "Hey, I heard you talk about this. Would you mind expanding on it?" You know, genuinely wanting to know more about our philosophy. And that is exactly why I do this. I cannot say this enough. Like, that is exactly when I hear that sort of stuff, and people in my inbox all the time, if I could just go through my inbox and put that stuff out there. But people asking me, like saying they heard of my music, telling me that I was somewhat of a influence in terms of getting them to think about libertarianism, liberty, and self-ownership. Like this, that's why I do it, man. You know what I mean? Like, I do it for those people, because I know that they are in that sort of box. Otherwise, they would never hear that. They would never hear about libertarianism, because it's dominated by, you know, leftists for the most part. So that's important to me, and that's why I do it, what it is that I do. And we certainly need more libertarians that can have that sort of appeal. Because, again, there's the people that are in these echo chambers, man, of just leftism. They haven't even heard the alternative line of thinking. And it's important that we get out there and try to, you know, show them that it is an alternative to, you know, the mainstream left or the mainstream right. And there's just an alternative, one that works, one that's is peaceful, one that is of non-aggression, and one that betters the living standards of everybody that adopts it.
Wow.
Hey, I'm already a libertarian. I'm sold.
I know. I was going to say, he's on social media, and you rock Twitter, which we'll probably get to talk about all your Twitter, which I'm a big ogler. I love it. I think you wreck it. You do a great job. Do you think that, conversely, that the social justice movement has been enabled by social media? And do you think we can combat the lack of reason versus feelings and envy economics?
Yeah. I mean, it's been amplify social media. I mean, with the social justice movement, essentially with social media, has been amplified. And the thing about social media in general, and again, this is another thing that I'm always bringing up, is like this double-edged sword. It was a positive thing for us as libertarians, because it allowed us to link up with people that we otherwise would have never known existed with social media. I mean, social media has allowed us to connect with fellow libertarians and the people that, you know, again, we just wouldn't know exist. It makes us feel as if we're not alone. But on the other tip, I think from a communication standpoint, it is completely wrecked us, you know, as in by us, I mean, just as a society as a whole, which people, it's a lot of false information, because the positive thing, again, mainstream media has become so obsolete these days, because you have independent journalists who can now are given platforms thanks to social media, and information can spread just like that. It's quick. But a lot of false information can get spread like that. And it's easy when you have these, and this is where libertarians lack. And I don't think they actually even realize. A lot of people have the kind of heads in the sand, and they think they're a lot more influential than what they are. You couple the fact that the left has the entertainers on their side, the artists, the people that your kids look up to. They have them on their side. They are given a platform, and they're able to spread this information. So that platform alone with music, but the fact that they have this major platform and they could essentially tell all of their followers, their supporters, something and their views just like that. It doesn't take much. It's a tweet away, and they could have a bunch of people believe in a bunch of garbage. That's hard to combat. So to answer your question, really, and it's like that's why we need more figures. Like, I'm not trying to gas myself up. I'm saying like I'm out in the trenches. Front line, going back and forth with these personalities on Twitter and stuff like that. But I'm the only one, like the only one as in that has like that sort of following. Right. And that's willing to do it. First and foremost, be unapologetic with that's willing to do it, but just to have that sort of platform and to be like, we need more of those. Like, so I'm not alone. And we have that sort of representation of just people that are unapologetic, people that are principled first and foremost, but can get out there and really combat that, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take, it's a culture war more than anything, and it's going to take us having these figureheads. And this is why you have those aspirations, as I mentioned earlier, and trying to build other people up to that sort of stature so they can get out there again, fight front line with me, because that's what war gonna be won. Because like you mentioned, with social media, information spreads so fast, and it did amplify the social justice. It's going to keep amplifying the social justice movement, and they're going to be able to, because they have all of these figureheads, right? They have all these popular figureheads and so many different lines of art, and that's hard to combat. And the only way to really combat is to have figureheads of your own that can get up and are smart enough to say, that is a bunch of garbage, and I can prove it to you how it's a bunch of garbage, and I'm not going to apologize just because you got offended or something like that. We need more of that.
Well, like you brought up a good point. You were talking about like, you have a role, like you're doing hip hop, right? So you have to kind of maintain an image for that, right? So like I did rockabilly and you did hip hop. And so like, I still got like, I'm Johnny Rocket. I fucking drink beer and smoke cigarettes, that's my image. Yo. But we're hitting it from a different angle, like that's the thing that I think we have to find where we start and, find out what we're good at. And then from there, we build from there, and I think that's how we do it. And I guess my ultimate question is, you're coming from the left, and I think you kind of answered this, but maybe there's some more you can, give us in details. But like coming from the left, how has that actually spread liberty in your realm? Like, what do you know the enemy? That's the thing. I came from the right.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was about to say. That was a perfect point. And this is why I think people get upset, because I'm pretty open about the fact that I have a bias, right? Like, I stick to what I know. Like, I criticize, it's not to say that I don't criticize the quote unquote right. I do. It's often for them doing some leftist type of stuff. But I more so emphasize the left because that's where I came from. And that's what dominates the culture that I'm involved in. That's what dominates all the different cultures I'm involved in. Black culture, hip hop culture, metal culture, hardcore and punk culture, like all that stuff that I'm involved in. Video games, it's just comics. It's all dominated by leftists. All of my interests. So of course that's going to be my emphasis. And I don't knock anybody for having like the opposite side be the main side that they criticize or stuff like that. But I know how they operate. I know how the left operates. And this is why I'm always emphasizing the artistic stuff and the culture, because I realized that is exactly how the left got me. That's how I grew up being a leftist. That's how I got sucked into that nonsense. It's because, it was all I knew, and it was embedded essentially in my culture. So you grow up that way. You're an anomaly when you deviate from that particular line of thinking. So I know that, you know what I mean? And that has allowed me, just having that sort of information and coming from there has allowed me to know what works. Like people, it's funny, and it tends to be people that came from different sides that are always like, well, you're too hard on the left. And I'm like, bro, if you only knew what I knew about people that come from that side, you wouldn't be saying none of that garbage. You can't serve these people soft. They ain't gonna listen like that. That's just not how they operate. You know what I mean? And And I get that there's going to be people that are maybe turned off, from my message because I'm so like in your face with it. Like, I'm confrontational. Like I'm straight up like, let's do it. Like we can debate. We can have a discussion. And when I, here's some nonsense, I'm going to call it out. But this is why I'm always telling people like these idiot like leftists that call themselves libertarians who think they have it all figured out, right? They tend to always think they have it figured out. They think they're such marketing geniuses that they're always having these problems. And, well, I can't market the message because of people like Eric July. I'm like, well, I don't have that problem. I don't relate. Like, I'm having no problem getting my message out there, even though you guys are parading and pretending to be, because nobody has a monopoly on this message. And this is what probably been the most difficult thing that I'm trying to get across to libertarians in terms of marketing. There's no one way to do this. There's no one avenue. There's no one approach. Like human beings aren't robots, man. Like they have different things about them, and certain people are more receptive and they receive the message in different ways. And it's the way I package it, where it's in your face. That comes from me being like a hip hop dude. That's how you got to do it. You can't be coming soft. And whack, like you can't do that. And people are going to be like, get this garbage out of my face. This, I'm going to coddle you and stuff like that. Doesn't work, bro. That does not work for those types of people. And maybe there are individuals where that works. You go market it to them, but that's not who I'm trying to get my message out there to those, you know what I mean? So, and how I package it, that for one, that's who I am. But, I came from that side and I understand that those people, that's how they hear it. That's how they, understand that message, you know what I mean? Because that's the way it was packaged. The leftism was packaged for them. So I understand that, and I'm trying to get these other fools to understand. Like, there's nobody has this sort of market, bro. Like, monopoly on the way libertarianism has to be marketed. Like nobody has a monopoly on people boost me up way more than what I feel like they should when they like are blaming the people like myself on the reason why I guess liberty isn't growing the way that they think it should. I'm like, bro, I don't have those problems, so I can't really relate to that, because I have my target audience. That's who I target, and because I understand marketing. Like they can't stop that. Like those people, my thing is, and I always say this, I end on this note. Like I always say this, like if your message is so dependent on what somebody else is doing, then your marketing is trash, and you probably need to get out the way and let people that know what they're doing. Let the people that know what they're doing get this message out there, because clearly you don't, because yours is dependent on what the hell some other marketer is doing. That's not how it doesn't work like that in any other market, in any other human affair, where like people are like, well, it's dependent on what the people that are doing the same thing as me is dependent on what they're, or a similar thing. Right. It's dependent on what they're like. It doesn't work like that. If you can market, you can market, and you have to make those adjustments. You may have to make those adjustments because what somebody else is doing, but to act like your entire effectiveness is dependent on that's just telling me that you don't know what you're doing.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
The principles of that message are so hard for the soft soap sellers. So not only is it the marketing thing that you're talking about, but I always say only diamonds can cut diamonds. Steel sharpens steel. And so what you're doing is you are putting them through the paces just with your messaging. And if they can handle that, you're creating warriors for this cause.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need, because the soft soap sellers, they can talk people into flirting with liberty, but those people, when it gets tough, cut and run.
That's probably one of the better points that I've ever heard. And I'm not even joking. And I've never even thought about it like that. But you're completely right when you say that these individuals, the people that kind of soft serve way of sort of milk toast.
If we're tricking them into adopting the word libertarian, then where are they going to go when the shit goes down and it gets real? That's all I have to say.
Good point.
Nah, and it's true. I mean, it's such a great point, because we see that in action, like these people that are flirt with libertarianism, and because people, and I'm sure we'll talk about this here in a minute. This is my gripe with a lot of people that are that are in the Libertarian Party, because they're so set on trying to get members, right? It's trying to get head counts, right?
Yeah, they'll sacrifice their principles.
Bingo. They'll sacrifice their principles for the sake of getting a head count. And I'm like, these people, when it's all said and done, these people are not. And that's why you get people that will leave and stuff like that, because like they never really were libertarians in the first place. They never understood it because, again, you gave it to them this sort of soft ass, way. And they don't really understand the actual principles because it's not a pretty thing. It's easy. It's easy. It should be easy to understand, but with that comes things that you might not like, and people will have maybe ideas. I think this is the thing about libertarianism that a lot of people dislike on the outside, because it is so as long as, for example, if you're not using aggression, you can have some ideas that maybe aren't favorited by certain individuals, but that's what libertarianism is about. That's what freedom actually is. But you get these people who try to make it into this like milquetoast sort of kumbaya, everybody accepts everybody, and it's like, bro,
libertarianism is not a utopia, Eric, and that's the thing.
It's not even close.
I know.
We need to stop packaging it. We need to stop packaging.
I agree.
Packaging it like that, because that's literally not what it is. That's certainly not. It's not utopianism. It's not.
That's right.
Kumbaya, everybody get along. It's not what it is. It's about property rights and non-aggression.
That's right.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, not thought crimes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not about
thought crimes. It's not about being protected from being offended. That's not what it's about. It's about private property rights, self-ownership, non-aggression is what libertarianism, is about. But for whatever reason, people think that selling it, the milquetoast way of selling it, and by that I'm meaning going away from the principle, then yeah, you're going to get people that may adopt it. And that's the funny thing, is that they're trying to do this to appeal, but they don't understand what it is that they're doing, because they're like, all right, if I sort of, I'm a little principled with it, but I'm unprincipled with it at the same time, because I'm kind of scared. But that's the way I'm gonna package it. Yeah, like you said, there's gonna be people that when it really comes down to it, they'll just go,
that's right,
mainstream Republicanism, mainstream Democrat, when it's all mainstream leftism, mainstream right. Now, this is what's going to happen. And again, that's why it's key that we stick to our principles, no matter how we package it. In that sense, you got to at least stick to the principle, because once people get over it, they're going to be like, what the hell? Once they figure out, well, maybe libertarianism isn't what this guy's been trying to sell me on. It's about something else. So ultimately, once that's going to make it sort of unattractive for them, because they're going to feel like they're swindled. And honestly, that's what these people are doing, is swindling these individuals by remaining unprincipled and kind of this milquetoast way of marketing sort of the message.
Eric, I have a confession to make before our commercial break.
Go ahead.
I'm fiscally conservative and socially liberal.
Oh my God, that's the worst term.
I'm just kidding. Anyways, it's Johnny Rock here at Blast Off. We're talking to Eric July, and I'm here with my Ray of Truth, the beautiful Raylene Lightheart.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, anyway, so check us out. If you like the show, check us out at patreon.com/Blast Off Podcast. And you can check us also out at blastoffshow.com. Anyway, so we're going to come right back. We have Rocket Fire for Mr. July. Anyway, so stay tuned. We got some more coming up, so you don't want to miss this. Rock and roll.
It's time to shake up your podcast feed, folks, by subscribing to Lions of Liberty, the only libertarian variety show out there. Spend Mondays with me, Mark Claire, as I feature in-depth interviews with great names in the libertarian community and fun roundtable discussions.
Electric Liberty Land with me, Brian McWilliams, every Wednesday, your weekly dose of comedy, culture, and liberty.
And Felony Fridays with me, John Odermatt, where I expose injustice in the broken criminal justice system.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and at lionsofliberty.com.
Hey guys, this is Roger Paxton, and if you're fed up with the government running every single aspect of your life, but you're not listening to the Lava Flow podcast yet, then what's wrong with you? Check us out at thelavaflow.com, or just go back to sucking up to the government. The Lava Flow podcast, striking the root every single episode.
This is Chris Spangle, and I am the host of We Are Libertarians, which you can find in iTunes, Google Play, or at wearelibertarians.com. We are a podcast that brings you all of the irreverence that modern politics deserves by examining current events from a libertarian perspective. So please, check us out at wearelibertarians.com.
Blast Off, and I'm here with my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Ray of Truth, the beautiful, that's like quadruple now. Ray of Truth, Miss Raylene Lightheart.
Best day ever. Thank you, Johnny.
Anyway, so Raylene, I just said beautiful just a couple more times this second time around, but we are talking to my man, Mr. Eric July, and this has been a great show. I mean, he is awesome, and we have Rocket Fire coming up. And by the way, please check him out at beinglibertarian.com and backwardsmusic.com. That's backwards with a Z instead of an S, music.com. Okay, so Eric, what we do here on the second segment, it's called Rocket Fire. What we do on Rocket Fire, sir, is I'm going to ask you a series of 10 questions. These questions will be politically related or philosophically related, and if you can answer these questions between 30 to 60 seconds, that'd be badass. Eric, are you ready to play Rocket Fire?
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it.
Question 1.
What was wrong with the Civil Rights Act, and what do people get wrong?
Try to essentially overturn the bad laws essentially that existed in America, and that's a noble cause. But however, in doing that, where you had things like affirmative action and the fact that you couldn't open a business, public accommodations, and this also happened at a lot of state level versions of civil rights, in which you couldn't have businesses open to the public, and if you had that business open to the public, you couldn't. Essentially forcing you to sell it to certain type of people, even if you hated their stinking guts. So yeah, bake the cake. If a Nazi came in and you didn't want to, you had to, essentially bake the cake for that Nazi. So that's where a lot of people get it wrong. It's a violation of private property rights. Now, ideally, what should have happened is that all the laws, whether it be the Plessy versus Ferguson's and the bad precedent that the Supreme Court set like across the board, is just simply eliminated the laws that existed, because a lot of people don't understand that there were laws that existed specifically in the South that forced people to segregate, and that's different from some people with their own private property saying they won't sell to somebody. People act like that was the only thing that existed. Simply not true. There's a lot of laws that existed in which said that, like the Louisiana Boxcar Act, for example, saying that you were forced, the state was sort of forcing you, even if you didn't want to. And that Louisiana Boxcar Company that went to where the Plessy versus Ferguson took place, they did not want to. It was from an economic standpoint, they had to purchase more boxcars. So economically, they opposed the law. It had nothing to do with race, but economically, they opposed it because they had to buy more boxcars. They had to separate the whites from the blacks. So ideally, they just should have eliminated the laws that existed, as opposed to this crap that we're dealing with even to this day, where people are being forced to serve people that they don't want to with their own private property.
Right on, man.
Question 2.
Do you think religion and politics influence each other? Why or why not?
I absolutely do. And unfortunately, people don't understand. And I deal with this, and I'm a Christian. I deal with this with a lot of Christians, specifically maybe on the right, in which they maybe want to utilize. People have kind of moved away from that recently, but definitely in the past, wanted to utilize politics to spread their sort of religion to I don't want to say mandate it, but, something of that nature, and that's a problem. And it's about, people need to understand that obviously, definitely liberty isn't antithetical to religion or anything like that. It's just, and this is what's so weird to me from a Christian standpoint, is that obviously God gives us, for the free will, and that exists. That's a thing that exists. So why people want to force people to adopt it is a little weird, but it's certainly dangerous. And we've seen how that has led to a lot of destruction, and a lot of deaths over the years, and people essentially want to use politics to sort of mandate their religion, and that's just not the way to do it.
Right on, man.
Question 3.
Do you think Nick Sarwark would sign a petition to prove he is against socialism or communism? And would Nick's refusal to come out against socialists be considered hypocritical after he went after Tom Woods?
Absolutely. And I don't think that he would do it. I would hope that he would prove me wrong if that is, but yeah, that would most definitely make him a hypocrite, right? Because that's what he bragged on Tom Woods for. You didn't sign my stupid whatever.
I'm not a Nazi.
Thing.
petition.
Yeah, you didn't sound like a year. So by saying that, you know your base, it's like, get the hell out of here, man. Tom Woods has thousands of episodes opposing this garbage that you're talking about. You don't got to sign no stupid deal. But yeah, he would be a hypocrite. Long story short, he absolutely would be a hypocrite. And I know he knows what he's doing. He's smart in that aspect. He knows that he has people that are calling themselves libertarian socialists that are part of the party that are gonna that know that he's friendly with them, buddying up, and he just doesn't want to come out again. But he's a snake. And this is why I call that dude. And this is why I've said, I know a lot of people are mad at me, like, Eric, why don't you join the party? It's like, so as long as that guy's heading the party, I refuse to feel like, I'm part of some sort of organization in which Stat Snake is the head.
Right on, man. Question 4. What do you think of social contract, and what do you think it's done to the country?
Well, it's a garbage concept, and it doesn't exist. There's no such thing. But people have used this sort of social contract theory to justify taxation, to justify a lot of immoral things, because it's like, oh, well, you have a duty, essentially, to the community, to the society, to contribute in this way. And so it's a garbage theory in that sense, because it's assuming that, well, the way it's applied, it's assuming that we as individuals sort of are obligated. We come out the womb obligated to pay taxes and to contribute to society in forms and ways that we don't want to. And it's certainly nonsensical. And this is what's and it's such an easy argument to debunk or kind of lap circles around from an intellectual standpoint. It's the fact that people that are still using it is mind-boggling to me. But it's a nonsensical theory. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as these, say, like social contract, but certainly that social contract has been used to justify things such as taxation and other immoral things that are sort of the state is being the vehicle to use, you know what I mean, when it comes to actually implementing these policies.
Right on, man. Question 5. What do you think of the recent social media purge, and should we as libertarians be worried?
Should be worried. Now, granted, I know it's a sort of a flimsy sort of thing. It's like, or more so a gray area, because a lot of these people are like, I get the argument that people are making, like some of these major sort of social media platforms are in bed with the government. So because they're in bed with the government, it's not right, and they're using taxpayer dollars and stuff like that. It's not right for them to have these purges. I'm on the end that I think that, this is their property. So if they want to do with it, whatever it is that they want to do with it, it's fine. But what this is doing is creating an incentive for individuals to come up with certain social media alternatives. And I think this is obviously the time to do it, because people are getting purged, and libertarians absolutely should be worried. They should be worried. We're not the certainly popular line of thinking. We're sort of the people that they're trying to suppress. That's in the same respects. It's not just the people on the quote unquote right. And by right, I mean, like, they think of conservatism. They don't think of us as being on that line, but in the same respects, they know that they want to suppress us, and they're going to continue to do that. So you should be worried, but it's also an incentive for libertarians and other people to come up with alternatives.
All right, man. Question 6. Why is the left actually one of the most racist and bigoted parties?
Ooh.
What is their appeal to the black population?
Man, they are the most, I've said this multiple times, and all the nasty and derogatory names that I've been called on social media that pertain to my race have been more so from the left as opposed to these Klansmen or Nazis or something like that.
Yeah, I'm
from the left.
I'm a libertarian. I'm a Nazi. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But, you deviate from the left, and definitely when you're a black person, man, Jesus Christ, they will call you all sorts of negative names to pertaining. They'll call you N-words, house coon, all kinds of just ridiculous names. They call you some negatives. I've been called some nasty stuff, but I'm a thick skin kind of guy. I let that stuff roll off as whatever. But yeah, that in that they're racist, but more so from a policy standpoint. When you think about whether it be the war on drugs, welfareism, and things that have ruined black communities, historically speaking,
right?
Where are these taking place? These aren't taking place in these conservative sort of Republican-ran areas. Black people are the only ethnic minority that vote 90% for one party. So obviously, wherever you see majority black people in a community, whether it be district or city, it's going to be ran top to bottom by Democrats. So where they get these gripes, so this is why I don't understand, where they get these gripes of poverty and these gripes of police brutality and, drug infestation in these communities. Like, what the hell? These are Democrats that are running these top to bottom, but they sort of had this political monopoly, man. And it's so some magical thing, because I don't understand how for this long they've been able to yell squirrel and point to the guys on the opposite end, even though for decades at a time they have been the ones that have ran these black communities into the ground.
Okay, man, here's a good one here.
Question 7.
I have never heard an Asian person complain about white privilege. Why is that?
Well, that's because economically speaking, they tend to do better.
That's right. You're right.
Than white people. And I will say this. I mean, Malcolm X mentioned this. He more so with white immigrants, but I think it pertains to Asians as well. They come here with these nickels and dimes, next to nothing. And they come over here and they have their own, they got Koreatown, Chinatowns, predominantly Japanese makeups, and they come up with their own sort of resources, own stores, and they open these out to the public, and people love them. They give them money, they take care of their own in that way. So with that being said, of course, they're good to go, and they don't worry about the problem is that you get for example, black folks, they're so fixated on trying to fix the white man and trying to get them to accept us, and then trying to get them, get us in their human affairs and stuff like that. Haitian people don't worry about that stuff, man. They're like, man, I'm coming over here, I'm gonna set up shop. Yeah, I got stuff to do, bro. And it's funny, and they're also one of the few races that aren't scared to set up shop in these towns. Them and Arabs for the most part. You go these hoods where a lot of these black folks are, man, they'll set up nail shops, they'll set up all kinds of stuff in these black, I go Wynwood Village and Oak Cliff right now, all sorts of Asian operated stores out there. They'll set up shop wherever the money's at. They won't live over there, but they'll set up shop wherever the money's at. They ain't scared of nobody, and they ain't trying to hear that stuff. So, and I commend them for that, because that's how you get stuff done. You create your own. You don't worry about trying to be accepted by the people that don't want to accept you.
Right on, man.
Question 8.
When did musicians become a bunch of whining, jackbooted do-gooders? And rock and roll's about rebellion and not obedience, Eric.
Man, dude, it's sort of hard, man, to pinpoint whether it's happening, because a lot of I think the bands that we grew up on, no matter even what generation, because I'm a younger cat, but older people can relate to this as well, because these older punk rock bands. And they just, total lie. Definitely once Bernie. I think Bernie, that's the one thing I can point to as a positive thing, because he exposed a lot of these people. Because at the end of the day, these guys were making all these songs, these punk rockers making all of these songs about, the man and the establishment. And then the most big government progressive comes along, promising them the world, but using government power to implement these sort of whimsical sort of ideals. They went and supported them. That's what I dealt with in my community, and from the metalcore side, a lot of Bernie supporters and stuff like that. So it's hard to say when, but it just goes to show that they were not necessarily against power. They were just in power when the person had an R next to their name. They were against it then.
All right.
Question 9.
What are some of the economic lessons that have changed how you view the world and have influenced you?
Man, I think just growing up and not having a lot humbled me, man. And I think that me having a tight-knit family on my mom's side really put things into perspective. My grandmother, raised 7 kids essentially on her own because my grandfather had passed. My mother was 4. And so she was raising all of these kids. A lot of them went to college. A lot of them did their own thing. And most of them, pretty much all 7 of those children are doing something successful. They have families of their own and stuff like that. And my mother had a struggle as well with my father not being around, having to work multiple jobs. So it's like, what excuse do I have? Am I going to say that I have it worse off than my mother, who grew up 6, who was the last of her siblings? You know what I mean? To go to a non-segregated or the first, of her siblings to go to high school essentially, and then not be segregated. And I have to experience that. All her siblings had to experience that. And then my, grandmother, obviously, with Jim Crow and all those laws before then, like, what am I really going to sit here and gripe about? Like, I have it way better off. So that humbled me. That certainly humbled me. And having that struggle absolutely humbled me. And it made me hungry, man. And I'm a hard worker because I saw people struggle. And so even though I experienced the struggle in myself, I don't have a lot of excuses because I'm always looking like, well, there's people that absolutely had it worse off than I did, who are older. So what am I really going to gripe about?
Right on, man. Question 10. What is better, decriminalization or legalization, and why?
Most definitely decriminalization. Legalization is, I wrote an article, I believe, I can't remember what platform I put it on. It might have been the Libertarian Republic or something like that I published on there. And I said, we need to start talking about abolition of laws, not legalization. Because with legalization, that implies that the state still has some sort of control.
That's right.
And they also have, so they're going to regulate it. They're going to heavily regulate it. And it's hard to move away from that. So the time, once people are realizing that it's wrong, these laws are wrong, that's when you start talking about abolition, because it's harder to go from that straight to abolition and getting rid of it as opposed to than legalization. We're going to spend another decades on that, then talking about the problems with that, instead of turning it to this bureaucratic mess, which is what we see in so many different industries. And that's what we're going to see in the marijuana industry as people start to, regulate it, so to speak. So we need to start talking about abolition of laws, decriminalization of them, not necessarily just legalization, because that implies the state still has the power or the right to regulate.
All right, really quick, we have a bonus question, Eric. I know I lied because we're only supposed to do 10. All right, bonus question. What does your family and friends who may not be political or share your ideology feel about what you're doing?
I think that, and it's funny, I can sense it. Certain ones are completely on board, but certain ones aren't. But they don't challenge me. And I would say that my family has done a great job, in which we don't really talk. Definitely on my mother's side, we don't talk. My father's side, we'll talk about it a little bit. And ironically, they tend to agree with me more than not. But I feel on my mother's side, we don't really talk politics and stuff like that, but they know where I'm at with it. And it's funny, even though I know that they're like on different ends, my cousin, Adrian, big shout out to her, one of my closest first cousins, she knew what to get me for, she got me this awesome shirt a lot of people see me wear that says, like, has these 3 check boxes that says Democrat, Republican, and the last check box that has the check in it says freedom. So she knows they know where I'm at with it. It's not a secret. Everybody knows where I'm at. I mean, they can't get enough of me on their timeline all day long talking liberty, but they know where I'm at. They certainly know where I'm at, but I haven't got any like immediate backlash. I would say more so from people that I grew up with that aren't family. Absolutely, they got a lot to say with it. But my family, they've been pretty decent with it, and I don't get challenged or anything like that for the most part.
Right on. That's Rocket Fire. Give it up for Eric July. Yeah.
Like thinking on my toes. That was fun. It's fun.
Good job, man. Anyway, so this is Johnny Rocket here at Blast Off. If you like what you're hearing, you like Eric, check out beanglibertarian.com and check out his band backwardsmusic.com. And it's backwards with a Z, music.com. Anyway, so this is Johnny Rocket, and I'm here with the beautiful ray of truth, Miss Raylene Lightheart.
Thanks, guys.
Anyway, so we're talking to Eric July. We have a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. Rock and roll.
Ground control to Johnny Rocket. Ground control to Johnny Rocket. Well, here we are on Blast Off episode 12, the meeting of the tokens. Fascinating dynamic we have going on this one. On the one hand, you have the token rockabilly libertarian, and on the other hand, it's the token libertarian rapper. They're both simultaneously the best and worst at what they do, considering they have no competition and all. But I guess to be fair, libertarians are still such a minority in 2018 that there's in fact a little token in all of us. And if that doesn't bring a tear to your eye, then here's a song from Backwards, the token AnCap libertarian metal hip-hop group. This song is titled Set Us Free. Man, wouldn't that be nice? Well, anyways, it's off their first record. If you'd like to buy it, just go ahead and Google it.
Sometimes it's difficult. Yeah,
put yourself out there for the criticism. But it is what it is.
Baby, July and Alex around it. Struggle comes with the lesson. I can't be the only one questioning my heart and what the times will say about it. Carry on. The word is in us if we'll just speak as though we have what we cannot reach. Keep your heart on it.
It seems like now more than ever. When I say man's not who I serve. A target's put on my back, but what you've endured has got nothing on that, no. My life is steady on the line. For that I will not apologize. I still stand in defeat. When it's all said and done, I can take those with me.
Johnny Rocket, and I'm here with my Raven Truth, the beautiful Raylene Lightheart.
Guys, if you like what we're doing today, please sign up for our Patreon at www.patreon.com/blastoffpodcast.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we actually have an after party with Eric July. So if you guys are enjoying this conversation that we have with Eric, please check that out because Eric is just a badass.
Yep.
And it's great to have him here. And Raylene, thank you so much for getting both of us sandwiches when we were doing Rocket Fire. I really appreciate it. Because that's where a woman should. That's where a woman should be.
Speaking of,
in the kitchen.
Oh, dude. All right. So, Eric, as a woman, I'm often called a marginalized class. In my opinion, the biggest thing holding women back is the self-confidence, lack of self-ownership, and accountability. Not caring what haters say and forging ahead with our goals is the only way to be equal. Now, as a man, what are your opinions on modern feminism and the advice you'd give your wife or daughters?
Oh, man, thing is, you can tell that the whole modern feminism is something else, man. It certainly isn't about liberating women. It's anymore. It doesn't feel like that is the case. But my thing is that, and I talked to people about this before. I don't chime in too much on these just because I don't feel like it's like in my. I don't know. It's like I'm not a woman, so I don't chime too much on the whole feminism thing. But right. I would most definitely tell wife, daughter, whoever, cousin, that just to really be mindful of what these movements are really about. I mean, just because they have this front that they are trying to liberate, because it's not just with women, feminism. I mean, we see this with so many different sort of movements that are supposedly about liberating the minority group that they tend to be aimed at, or whoever, or that's their target or anything like that. And that's the front, but they're not doing anything of that nature. It's not really what they're about. They co-op entire movements. I think we see this with the whole Black Lives Matter deal, in which they sort of hijack black struggle, and they have tried to use that to package it and now they're talking about, feminism and stuff like that. And and everything else that has nothing to do with essentially black struggle and right. all that. So that sort of stuff happens. And I just would tell them to be more so mindful, because a lot of people front, a lot of movements front. They front and they're like, well, yeah. This is about liberating this particular small minority group. And then again, it's about everything but that. It's not essentially what it's about. So just because they may say that, especially in name, even more so, I guess, on feminism has been because of the word that has been used, that word, and this is why now people talk about it in waves, because maybe at one time it was a good thing, you know what I mean? And now it's like, what the heck is, what is this? So you got to be mindful of that. And, movements do get hijacked. You got to be mindful of that. And you just need to pay attention. And that's exactly the advice that I would give them.
Raylene, prepare for landing.
Roger that, Johnny.
Seatbelts and shoulder harnesses.
Your body, your choice.
Landing gear and downward expanders.
NAP initiated.
Anti-state superchargers.
Defragged and woke.
Landing lights and guest websites. Eric July, give us your .coms before we wrap this up.
You can hit me up at backwards, BACKWORDZ, music.com. Got a lot of material over there, and obviously at beinglibertarian.com. You can come holler at me over there, see articles and stuff like that. But if you want to see where the good stuff happens, head over to my Twitter, which is at Eric D. July.
Hell yeah. Anyways, this is Johnny Rocket here with my ray of truth, the beautiful Raylene Lightheart. Please check us out at blastoffshow.com. And again, visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Blastoff Podcast to listen to the rest of this interview. We have the after party coming up with Eric July. So rock and roll. We'll see you next week.